I want to tell you how a 5-minute investment will change your lifespan, will change your health span, will change your career span in just 5 minutes. But first, I want to talk about coffee and motivation. So, what is it about coffee and motivation? Well, I want you to think about that first cup of coffee in the morning. If you're a coffee drinker, I'm a coffee drinker, and there is nothing like that first sip. Is nothing like that. Even just the smell of coffee, whether it's brewing or if you're going to do a coffee press or a pour over, or you get it at the local coffee shop, whatever it is. But for those of us that are coffee drinkers, that first smell is such an amazing experience. And it's a positive experience from the first smell of it, the first sip of it. It is immediately or nearly immediately fulfilling. Like as soon as I have that first sip, it feels great. It tastes great. And then pretty soon after that, the caffeine starts to kick in and I'm waking up more and more. So it's like this nice positive feedback loop. And it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful thing. And I do it every morning. And it is and it's such a successful experience for me that it's pretty motivating to do it again the next morning, tomorrow morning. I did it this morning. And even by evening time, I look forward to my first cup of coffee the next morning because I prep everything. So to say that I'm motivated for coffee, motivated for that first sip, would be an understatement. Of course, I'm motivated for it. And if you're a coffee drinker, I'm sure you're the same way. But what about being motivated to exercise? Do you ever feel that way about exercise? I don't. I don't. I mean, to compare the motivation of having a sip of coffee, the first cup of coffee, and equating that in any way, shape, or form to going to the gym, for example, and working out, it is an alien comparison. They're nothing alike. But for as much as I have a cup of coffee every day, most days of the week, I also find myself exercising in some sort of way. The difference with exercise being is that it's not fun, it is not comfortable, it is not easy. There's no immediate benefits. So you don't even get the caffeine buzz. It's, after those first few sips and your body starts to wake up and, your alertness, increases. So there's this great positive feedback loop, if you will, with caffeine. But with, exercise, it's not nearly as pleasurable any step of the way. And the truth be told, I am very, very rarely motivated to exercise. And people who know me would say, well, it looks like you exercise all the time. And I do, but it's not motivation. It is a challenge that I have to overcome every day that I want to do it, especially if I'm going to the gym. I'm definitely not motivated to go to the gym, but I end up doing it a couple days a week. I'm definitely not motivated to train on my indoor bike, which I do a couple days a week as well if I can't get outside, but I do it anyhow. And it's not fun. But what's the difference? Like, why is being motivated to have the coffee? How different is that than being motivated to exercise? Well, we're going to talk about that. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Aaron Shaw. I am a Healthspan coach, and as this episode will show you, I have a forever curiosity on all things health span related. Health span is the length of time within our lifespan that we are healthy, active, vibrant, disease free, free from conditions that can be prevented. I have a nearly 30-year career in coaching and occupational therapy and strength and conditioning. And I have a business which is coaching people, helping people change their life, make better decisions, improve their health span. And we focus on the 5 pillars of health span. Those are exercise, nutrition, sleep, emotional well-being, and preventative care. And part of that, and I would argue the most important part of these pillars, or the most important pillar, is exercise. And it is the hardest thing for most people to overcome because it is such a demanding thing to do. It's on the short term, while engaging in it, it is not a necessarily fulfilling thing to do. And whatever type of rewards there are from exercise are either invisible or they take a long time to even start to really appreciate the benefits, even though the benefits of exercise, physical exercise, is vast. Everything from emotional well-being and quality of sleep and length of life, quality of life, metabolic health. I mean, the list can go on, and I've done other episodes on that. But it's tough. It's tough to be motivated to exercise, and I struggle with this all the time. And so I'm going to assume that you're probably like me. You may like coffee like I do, and you may also struggle with motivation to exercise. So let's talk about that. Motivation is the reason why a person behaves and acts in a certain way. It's the why behind we do things. And as I've just discussed, the why behind being motivated for a cup of coffee, pretty self-explanatory. It's a very fulfilling experience. But the why behind exercise, physical exercise, doing something hard, we really need to kind of dig into that and really figure out, is there a way to shortcut or a hack to being motivated, to starting this route, to starting an exercise session, just a single session? Is there a way that we can increase the likelihood of doing this damn thing that is hard to do, that is physically challenging? We're not super motivated or interested in doing it at all. There's a billion other distractions that we can do, but how do we hack this? How do we achieve what we know we need to achieve in doing an exercise, doing a workout to live longer? We're going to break this episode down into 3 sections. One, I'm going to talk about why motivation is overrated. I want to cover what we call a 5-minute rule, and dig into the science a little bit behind this 5-minute rule. And I'm going to give you practical ways to implement this rule into your daily life, specifically to make sure that you have a tool that is going to vastly increase the likelihood of you exercising. And the same tool, you can really increase the likelihood of doing any sort of task, but you're stuck listening to me, or you're not stuck. I'm grateful that you are listening to me, but we're going to focus specifically on exercise. And I'm going to throw in a bonus at the end, because once you've mastered this 5-minute rule, there's another level that you'll get even more amplified benefits. But let's start at the beginning. Why is motivation overrated? Well, motivation comes and goes. At best, it comes and goes. Sometimes I feel like it never comes at all. But we do need to have a sense of getting the ball rolling. We need to do something that's going to get the ball rolling, to really give us a positive reinforcement to keep engaging in a task, even if that task isn't as immediately pleasurable as having a cup of coffee. The reality is that action precedes motivation. And the key is actually starting, is getting started, is starting with the momentum that will make completing or continuing with a certain task that much easier. You know this, you've done this before. I do this, and I rely on this, just getting started, because once I get started, it tends to be a little bit easier to keep going. But the biggest barrier is really the starting. It's not so much the activity itself. It's not so much the workout itself or those series of exercises that you're going to do. It is starting that. Research shows that even doing small intentional actions can really override this sense of, I want to say, apathy. It can improve our mood, can improve our actions, but it takes this small, like a small baby step towards a bigger goal that you're going to try to achieve. In this case, a good workout. So taking small steps, tiny steps. And if you've listened to any of my podcasts before, you'll know I mention atomic habits frequently. And so it's that same concept where it's, and by the way, that's a great book. So if you haven't read Atomic Habits by James Clear, please get it. Please read it. It will change your life. You'll be much more productive without feeling overwhelmed. But it's this concept of doing small things that can have a big impact over time, especially when you do one small thing, kind of master a small behavior change or small action. Then you add a second small behavior or action on top of that, and you can kind of keep doing that. And the same goes for achieving an activity. The same goes for exercising in this case. So starting small, and by taking small steps towards this activity that we know is a really high value or we really need to do, will actually increase your emotional, it will increase your positive emotional state towards this activity. So by starting the exercise, you're going to feel more positive about continuing, which brings us to the 5-minute rule. The definition of this 5-minute rule, you may have heard this before. Hopefully you've heard this before. This is psychological strategy that helps us overcome procrastination and low motivation, which I have every single time I think about going to the gym. It helps us overcome this procrastination and motivation and low motivation by committing to just 5 minutes of the activity, literally just 5 minutes. So if after 5 minutes of engaging in this activity, If after 5 minutes of starting your exercise, starting your workout, you feel that you're not interested, you're not engaged, you can't motivate yourself to do it, you're just absolutely on the emotional struggle bus, then you stop. That's it. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. You prep yourself, get your workout clothes on or whatever you're going to do, get to the gym or go to your home gym or wherever you plan on this exercise session. And I know you're going to be standing there thinking, oh, I just don't want to do this. There's so many other things I want to do. If you're like me, there's a million things I can kind of distract myself with. There's always more stuff to do. But when you are ready to say, I am going to prioritize my self-care, my health, my lifespan, my health span, my career span, my durability and resilience, I'm going to exercise. Oh, how am I going to do it? You're going to set a timer for 5 minutes and you're just going to start knowing that you have 100% permission after 5 minutes. If you just cannot push through anymore, you stop. Permission slip. You got a permission slip. You can stop after 5 minutes. It won't be held against you. It's still a success. You did something on that day. You did 5 minutes. You can check the box. It's a win. So that's great. But in doing those 5 minutes, you've literally dramatically increased the likelihood of doing 10 minutes of exercise, 15 minutes of exercise, because you've overcome the biggest single barrier to doing an exercise, doing a workout, and that is starting. And if more of us would literally set our timer, set our watch, drag ourselves to where we need to be and just say, oh, damn it, I'm just going to do 5 minutes of this and then I'm done, the world would be a healthier place, first of all, but you would be completing, finishing full workout sessions far more frequently than you are now. Unless you're some sort of savant who just sort of exercises all the time and has no barriers whatsoever. I do this all the time. And for me, the 5 minute thing that kind of gets me going when I'm in the gym is I tell myself, I'm going to get on the treadmill. So I do a brisk walk warm up for all of my workouts. And I set the timer for 7 minutes on the treadmill. But I know if I can get to the gym on the treadmill, of course, I'm wearing my workout gear. If I can get those first 5 minutes where I'm moving, and man, I can be grumpy and distracted, I know that if I can get through those first 5 minutes, I'm good. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to do this crazy, incredible, life-changing 45-minute workout, but I know I'm going to do a little bit more. So the key is that those first 5 minutes, and I'll admit that it's pretty rare, but on those rare occasions where I just cannot get my head in the right spot, which is always the case. I mean, the barrier is not anything physical within 5 minutes, especially if you're just warming up. But if I cannot get myself present in what I'm doing, I'm done. And that's fine. That's a perfectly fine thing to do. From a scientific perspective, we know that the brain, we experience decision fatigue. We all get tired. There's a million different things to do, especially when it comes to workouts. If you're not sure where to start, whether you go to the place with their dumbbells, whether you go to, get a yoga mat, whether you find a machine to do, we have decision fatigue. And it's easy to feel overwhelmed. So we tend to default to doing nothing versus taking an action, starting, just get going. Within those first 5 minutes, you're going to get a dopamine hit. And this dopamine hit is, I would say the dopamine hit is similar to those first couple sips of coffee in the morning. You get a positive reinforcement, which will really increase your motivation. It's a nice little neurotransmitter pat on the back, if you will. So if you can get through those first 5 minutes, literally your chemistry starts to change a little bit, saying, hey, that may have felt really hard to get these first 5 minutes in, but the next 5 minutes, we're going to change your physiology a little bit. So it actually won't be quite so hard to keep going. That's pretty cool. Now you've got some momentum behind you. Now you're actually in the right spot to do exercise. You've got those first 5 minutes under your belt. Your chemistry changed in a way that makes whatever that resistance was to getting going, it just chops it down. And now you actually feel, hey, I feel like I've just had a couple of sips of coffee here. Like things are actually starting to brighten up. The sun's starting to rise. And now you're on a path. So once you get those 5 minutes underneath your belt, your chance of continuing is going to be far, far greater. Dopamine is, again, it's this neurotransmitter, and it is released when we do pleasurable activities. And it may seem that the idea of lifting weights is not really in the pleasurable bucket, but it is in the success bucket. It's in the success bucket by getting to the place where you're going to do this workout to take care of yourself, to provide the self-care, to invest in yourself as you should be and need to be doing, and your body will reward you for that. So the question is, how do we do this? How do we implement this 5-minute rule? What's the most practical way to do it? So again, I said, I'm a sucker for using timers. I have timers on my desk. And so I will literally set the timer, get going, get started. Creative writers use the same techniques, where you may have heard people who need to be creative will set a timer for 5 minutes, and either that will kick them into gear to write that blog, write that book, write that chapter, or whatever that is. And if after 5 minutes they just can't keep going, they pull the plug. To be really practical on how to apply this 5-minute rule for your exercise routine looks like this. Step 1, you are going to get yourself dressed, get your exercise equipment, your sneakers, your workout shorts, your tights, whatever it is. You're going to get yourself geared up. You're going to get your water bottle. You're going to get to the place where you're going to do a workout. And I know that you are dragging yourself to get to this place. Once you're there in your home gym or at your local gym, you are literally just going to make a promise to yourself that I'm just going to do this for 5 minutes. You're going to set a timer on your phone, on your smartwatch, whatever you have with you, and just tell yourself, commit to yourself, I'm going to do this for 5 minutes, and then I'm off the hook. And again, literally, if after 5 minutes you just cannot stand to keep going, you can pull the plug. If after 5 minutes you feel like, I think I could do another 5 minutes, then you stick around and you do another 5 minutes. You do another set. You do another few repetitions. And one way I think about this with the internal dialogue that's in my head, the voices in our head, is I think of it as a self-experiment. And I'm curious, and if we can be, and if you can be curious as well. Think about what happens during this 5 minutes. What's changing how I feel? And I'm always asking myself, even though I'm dreading doing this, what happens if I just start doing it? What's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is that I've just moved my body for 5 minutes. That is a win. Not an incredible struggle, not an incredible benefit, but it's a start. So 5 minutes is a win. Ultimately, it's going to reduce our resistance to doing this and increases the likelihood of doing it again and again and again. But here's an extra credit. Here's a little hack plus a hack. You may have heard of a Pomodoro technique. This takes this 5-minute investment in yourself and extends it. It extends it to 25 minutes. And you can do these time chunks in different ways. But the idea with a Pomodoro is that it's a 25-minute effort followed by a 5-minute break. And again, you can kind of divide these up in different ways. But once you get this 5-minute habit developed and you feel that helps you oftentimes get over the hump of getting started, and you feel like, hey, I can get this 5 minutes, I got that down, but it's kind of hard to get a full workout in, perhaps switch gears, set the timer for 25 minutes as opposed to 5 minutes. Same rules apply. Just get going. Keep on pushing through. During those 25 minutes, you may feel a little bit of a bump of motivation. Maybe it's not super high, maybe it's not super low, but you may start to feel some successes, some dopamine hits that'll help you kind of push through. You may feel like you've just got a little shot of espresso halfway through, but keep on pushing through. And then at the 25-minute mark, same rules apply. At 25 minutes, if you think, hey, pretty good, pat yourself on the back. I can't do any more. I don't have the time or the emotional bandwidth to do it. Fine, stop. You've just done 25 minutes of self-care. You're investing in extending your health span. You're investing in being more durable. You're investing in fighting against disease and disability because you are exercising. So this 5-minute rule, this 5-minute tactic, or the Pomodoro, this 25-minute tactic, can obviously be applied to anything. The punchline with all of this is just starting. And I could wax poetic on the same goes for starting a business, the same goes for starting any sort of healthy habit, same goes for starting a project, something that you're resistant to doing. You can apply it to starting your taxes. You can start it, cleaning the house, anything. Set that 5-minute timer. If you don't already do this, I promise you it is a game changer because it gives you just enough of a nudge to really, again, it's going to kick in our physiology. It's going to kick in these neurotransmitters in a way that's going to really get the flywheel going. So your chance of success is so much greater than sitting, waiting, and hoping for motivation, because motivation is just not going to come. It's not free flowing. It's not like waking up and pressing a button on a coffee maker and you've got yourself a big pot of coffee and you're good to go. It is not like that. Unfortunately, super unfortunately, it's nothing like a good cup of coffee. So the one thing you can do today to extend your health span is to try the 5-minute hack. Try setting a timer for 5 minutes when you have a barrier to doing an activity because you don't have motivation, because you're feeling apathetic, because you're feeling tired, because you're feeling scatterbrained, whatever it is. Set the timer for 5 minutes and press start. Start that timer, make the timer go, realize, hey, this is live. I got to start doing the thing I want. I have to start exercising. I'm going to start my exercise routine right now. Clock is ticking. It's down to 4 minutes and 45 seconds. It's down to 4 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm going to keep on pushing through because it's only 5 minutes. You can do anything for 5 minutes. But the key is to get started. If you don't know what to do, you're in a gym, you're at your home or in your home gym and you have some bands and some weights and you don't know what to do, worry not. Go to my website. I have free workouts on there. All you need is your body weight, a couple bands, maybe a dumbbell, a little bit of gravity, which you probably have at your house. So it's all good. There's free resources on my website. There's free resources online. Some of them are dangerous. Don't do anything that looks sketchy, but just start. Set that timer, start something, follow a plan if you can get one. If you don't have one, again, I have plenty to choose from. You can always reach out to me. I can make a plan for you. But the key is starting. Set the timer, 5 minutes, and you're off to the races. So tomorrow morning, assuming you're a coffee drinker, embrace that cup of coffee. Maybe you're drinking a cup of coffee right now. Maybe you're starting your day by investing in yourself, investing in me by listening to my words, my words of wisdom, my words of experience. School of Hard Knocks here, which I'm grateful for. But think about that feeling of sipping that coffee. The idea of being motivated sounds silly because it takes no motivation to do, but there's a ritual. There's something that gets you started. You can leverage a habit that you're already doing. Again, if it takes 5 minutes for your coffee to brew, for example, do 5 minutes of air squats and modified push-ups while the coffee's brewing. That's great. 5 minutes. Not a lot of time, but a huge impact. If you're looking for more tips on how to hack your way through, if you will, hack your way through habits, develop better habits for your health span, exercise, nutrition, your sleep, your emotional well-being, preventative care tips, let me know. If there's a specific topic you want me to do a deep dive into, let me know that as well. Some of these episodes that I do, I'll bring guests on. Sometimes I'll do short, 5 and 7 minute episodes. Sometimes I run 30 minutes, 40 minutes, depending upon what the topic is. This one is super important. And I could, again, speak forever on the science of exercise physiology and strength training and nutrition and macronutrients and all that stuff. But none of it matters unless we can kind of get started. And this is where you get started, the 5-minute hack. So if you have any questions, drop me a message. I respond to all messages and I appreciate your time. Be healthy.